We're going to turn now to our second witness, Mr. Ra'id al-Salih. Mr. al-Salih is the head of the Syrian Civil Defense, more commonly known as the White Helmets. He manages this network of over 2,800 volunteers who have saved over 120,000 lives in Syria. He is originally from Idlib, and he is a father of two. Mr. al-Salih, the floor is yours.
أنا اسمي رائد الصالح من شمال غرب سوريا محافظة إدلب من مدينة جلسة.
My name is Ra'id al-Salih. I am the head of the Syria Civil Defense, popularly known as the White Helmets.
هي منظمة تضم 2,500 متطوع و300.
This organization of 2,500 men and 300 women who have dedicated their lives to saving others. When the bombs rained down, we rushed to dig lives from under the rubble. Since our formation in 2013, we have saved more than 120,000 lives in Syria. 282 volunteers have been killed in the line of duty, deliberately targeted by the Syrian regime and Russia. We rescue people regardless of their ethnicity, religion, gender, or politics. We have rescued our own family members, complete strangers, and even Assad regime soldiers. Our motto and inspiration comes from the universal teaching found in the Quran that reads, "Whoever saves one life, it is as if they have saved all of humanity." Yet for all the lives we have saved, death is beating us. For every Syrian that we've saved, there are 5 that we've lost. If only we could stop the bombs, we could save almost every single one. I'm here today to convey the voices of the millions of civilians in Idlib who wake up every day fearing death. Idlib, once an idyllic rural province known for its olives and cherries, has been turned into hell on earth. Since Russia's intervention in 2015, the number of internally displaced people has doubled to 8 million. The relentless aerial bombardment and use of siege to retake areas like Aleppo and eastern Ghouta has forced millions to evacuate to Idlib. Now there isn't another Idlib, nowhere else left to flee to, and so nearly 4 million civilians are trapped. The area is roughly the size of the state of Rhode Island. Its pre-war population of 300,000 has increased by more than tenfold. Since the beginning of the Idlib offensive, the Assad regime, backed by Russian air power and Iranian proxy militias, has launched a systematic campaign targeting all civilian infrastructure. Water points, hospitals, White Helmet centers, food markets, schools, and bakeries have all been targeted and bombed. Nearly everything that can help civilians survive has been destroyed, and the vast majority of people are struggling to access basic shelter, food, and medicine. I was in Idlib just weeks ago. There are no words to describe the apocalyptic horrors I witnessed there. Numbers are no longer useful, as the horror cannot be quantified, so I will tell you a story. I saw a father in Idlib standing on the side of the road with a sign reading, "I will sell my kidney for a tent." Can you imagine being so desperate to just provide shelter for your family? I did not come here to talk about humanitarian needs. Senators, I want to be very clear in this hallowed institution. What is happening in Syria is not an earthquake or hurricane that can be solved with humanitarian aid funding. No amount of money can stop a single barrel bomb falling over a child's bed. No amount of money can return a single displaced family to their home. We deeply appreciate the U.S. government's support to the White Helmets and urge your support in making sure the Syrian people's needs are met. But more funding to us will not solve the problem either. The ambulances we purchase with your funding are being pursued by Russian drones and deliberately bombed. Russia has destroyed millions of dollars worth of our U.S.-funded equipment. When you give us more money, what you are telling us is that you will not stop the atrocities and that instead we must purchase more ambulances to transport more injured civilians, order new cranes to lift collapsed concrete, crushing entire families, and buy more protective clothing to deal with chemical attacks. Raising funds to alleviate the suffering does not work any better than giving painkillers to a cancer patient. What is needed is the political will to act, to protect civilians. The overwhelming majority of the suffering results from one cause: the absolute impunity with which the Syrian regime and Russia bomb civilians from the sky. Yes, we have other evils too: the thousands of Iranian proxy forces known for their sectarian brutality, and other extremist groups who have similarly terrorized civilians. But it is the unimpeded aerial bombardment which is the primary cause of death, destruction, and displacement of civilians. The aerial bombardment is the primary cause of the refugee exodus to Europe, which has empowered far-right parties. The aerial bombardment and the West's unwillingness to stop it is the primary recruitment tool for ISIS and terrorist groups. So today I ask you to use your power to end the root cause of all this suffering by taking real action to clear the skies above Syria. Since 2011, we have been told all the reasons why intervention to protect civilians is impossible. But who has considered the consequences of not acting? The consequences of the world's inaction cannot be confined to Syria's borders. Meeting the most basic humanitarian needs will cost billions a month. Millions more refugees will flee Syria to Europe's safer shores. No border wall can contain them. An entire generation of children will be left uneducated. Extremist groups will ferment in the chaos, necessitating future global coalitions and trillions of dollars to defeat new threats. Does this sound more possible? Does this cost sound more reasonable than acting to stop the atrocities being committed now? Turkey's intervention last month shattered the myth that the use of force to stop hostilities might cause further escalation. In fact, the opposite happened. After Turkey's brief military intervention last week, there was a complete stop in aerial attacks. But Turkey cannot do this alone. It needs your support and leadership. The enforcement of a national ceasefire by all means necessary will create the conditions for real internationally backed peace talks, including accountability for all perpetrators of mass atrocities and war crimes. For I still believe in the values that the Syrian revolution called for in March 2011, the values of democracy practiced in this building every day and which can be practiced in Syria too. With support of people around the world, we Syrians can rebuild our country into a free, peaceful, democratic Syria that operates beyond the evils of the regime and extremists. I do not wish to sit here in 2025 detailing the suffering of yet another unprecedented humanitarian catastrophe in Syria. To speak of several 100,000 more lives lost, the millions still without a home, and paying tribute to hundreds more white helmets who will have been killed saving lives. As we enter the 10th year of war, the world has run out of words. Now is the time for action. Thank you.